Pablo Escobar was making an absurd amount of money, around $420 million per week. His revenge was brutal, eliminating anyone who stood in his way. Pablo Escobar wasn't just rich. At the height of his power, analysts estimated that the Medellín Cartel could generate hundreds of millions of dollars every week. That level of money doesn't just buy luxury, it buys influence, it buys silence, and sometimes it buys entire systems. Behind the title of the King of Cocaine lies a story that feels like fiction. A man who built his own prison, buried millions underground, and transformed crime into a structure that rivaled the Colombian state itself. But this empire didn't appear out of nowhere. Pablo Escobar was born in 1949 in a rural region of Colombia. From an early age, he understood the value of money and the power it represented. Small crimes came first: smuggling, counterfeiting, theft. Nothing yet suggested the scale his name would eventually reach. In the 1970s, demand for cocaine in the United States exploded. What had once been a marginal market began transforming into a billion-dollar industry. Escobar recognized the opportunity before almost anyone else. The Medellín Cartel emerged as a highly organized network. Producers, pilots, distributors, and intermediaries operated like parts of a precise machine. Aircraft crossed borders with hidden compartments. Maritime routes constantly shifted to avoid detection. Even experimental semi-submersible vessels entered operation. At its peak, tons of cocaine were leaving South America every week. Using conservative estimates of volume and price, annual revenue could exceed $1 billion. Even with frequent seizures, the business remained extremely profitable. But earning money on an industrial scale created an unexpected problem: where to store so much cash. Millions of dollars were kept in safe houses, hidden inside false walls, or buried in isolated locations. Part of this fortune was simply lost over time, destroyed by moisture or forgotten in secret hiding places. The cartel wasn't just a criminal organization, it was a financial machine with international reach. As wealth grew, something even more dangerous followed: political power. Escobar attempted to enter Colombian politics formally. He financed campaigns, built alliances, and presented himself as a man determined to improve the lives of the poor. In underserved communities, he funded housing and infrastructure, creating loyalty in regions where the state was absent. To many, he was a benefactor. To the government, he was becoming a growing threat. Investigations began exposing deep connections between the cartel and networks of corruption. Intimidation, bribery, and violence were used as strategic tools. Kidnappings of public figures and coordinated attacks were not random acts, they were calculated messages. The conflict escalated dramatically when a major aerial bombing shocked the world. The explosion killed dozens of civilians and marked a turning point. Public outrage surged, international pressure intensified. What had once been an internal issue became a matter of global security. The Colombian state responded with full force. The manhunt intensified. Joint operations between local authorities and international agencies began tightening the net. Yet Escobar still held an advantage: territorial control and social support in certain regions. It was in this context that one of the most surreal episodes in modern criminal history occurred. In 1991, Escobar negotiated his own surrender. The condition was extraordinary: he would serve his sentence in a prison he built himself. The facility, known as La Catedral, was less a prison and more a private complex. Inside, he maintained comfort, communication, and influence. But the illusion of control didn't last. When evidence surfaced that he was continuing to run criminal operations from inside the prison, the agreement collapsed. Authorities attempted to transfer him to a conventional facility. Escobar responded by escaping. His escape reignited the manhunt on a massive scale. As pressure mounted, alliances began to fall apart. Former partners distanced themselves, rival groups seized the opportunity. State forces with international support intensified intelligence and tracking operations. The empire that functioned like a parallel government began to fragment. Without the same protective network, Escobar was forced into constant movement, changing hideouts and becoming increasingly isolated. In 1993, after months of intense pursuit, the manhunt came to an end. Cornered in Medellín, Pablo Escobar died during a security operation. His downfall marked the end of an era, but not the end of the problem. The impact of the Medellín Cartel revealed how extreme wealth, corruption, and violence can strain entire institutions. Escobar's story exposed systemic vulnerabilities and reshaped international anti-narcotics policies. His legacy remains debated. For some, he represents excess and brutality. For others, he symbolizes the social contradictions that allowed his rise. But above all, the story of Pablo Escobar is a study of power. It is about what happens when wealth grows faster than a state's ability to control it, about how parallel structures can emerge when institutions fail, and about the human cost of empires built on illegality. Decades later, the question still remains relevant. How far can power grow before it inevitably collapses?